I'm 26, and I've been married to Liam for almost 3 years. You'd think that after all this time, I'd be considered part of his family, but somehow, I've always felt like an outsider. His mother, in particular, has never warmed up to me. She's never said anything outright cruel, but it's the little things, like how she always refers to me as your wife when speaking to Liam, or how she changes the subject when I try to join a conversation. I used to think maybe I was imagining it, but the longer I stayed in this family, the clearer it became. They simply didn't like me. But I wanted to change that. I've always believed that if you try hard enough, people will see your heart. So when Liam's mother's 50th birthday was approaching, I thought it would be the perfect chance to show her that I cared. I didn't want to do the bare minimum. I wanted to give her a celebration she'd never forget. Something that said, "You matter to me, even if I don't matter to you." Liam warned me not to get involved. He said gently, "Babe, I know you mean well, but they've never made an effort. You don't owe them this." But I didn't listen. I told him I needed to try. For closure. For myself. So I started planning. I found a charming little garden venue just outside the city, the kind his mother always talked about when she mentioned her favorite places. I paid the deposit with my own money. I called vendors, chose a menu that featured her favorite dishes, and picked out soft gold and lavender decor to match her taste. I even curated the guest list, reaching out to extended relatives I'd never met, just to make sure she'd feel surrounded by love. Not a single person from Liam's side helped. His sisters didn't return my texts about decor themes or music preferences. His younger brother straight up said, "This isn't really my thing." His mom? Silent. But I kept going. I told myself that maybe they just don't know how to show appreciation. The night before the party, we visited his parents' house to finalize some small details. I brought over the custom cake topper I'd had made, a tiny sculpture of her holding a bouquet with 50 and fabulous etched beneath it. I was nervous but excited. Maybe she'd finally see how hard I was trying. She greeted us with a tight smile and actually poured me tea, which was a first. For a moment, I thought maybe this was the breakthrough I'd hoped for. We chatted politely for a few minutes, and then she leaned in and said with a sugary tone, "Sweetheart, I appreciate the effort, I really do. But I won't be attending tomorrow." I blinked. What? She gave a light laugh. "It just wouldn't feel right celebrating with someone who isn't family, you understand. It wouldn't sit well with me." I felt my throat tighten. "But I planned this entire thing for you." "I know," she said, placing her hand on mine as if she were comforting me. "And that's very kind of you. But this is a family event." Behind her, Liam's twin sisters stood smirking like they'd been waiting for this moment. One of them muttered, "Should have known this would end in drama." I sat there frozen for a second, trying to process it. All the late nights, the money spent, the calls, the effort, it didn't matter. Nothing mattered because I wasn't family. I felt something snap inside me. I stood up, shaking.
"Fine," I said.
"Then the party is cancelled." Her smile faltered. "What? You don't want me there? You don't consider me family? That's fine. But you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. I'll cancel the whole thing. And if you, or anyone else, shows up at that venue tomorrow, security will make sure you're removed." The room went silent. Liam looked stunned, but not angry. Just heartbroken. Not for them, for me. His mom tried to backtrack, but I was already grabbing my purse. "Don't bother," I said. "You made yourself clear." And I walked out. I didn't say a word on the drive home. My hands were trembling as I gripped the steering wheel, my jaw tight, trying not to cry. Liam sat beside me in silence, letting me have space. I could feel the anger burning inside me, but beneath that, there was something even heavier, disappointment. Not just in them, but in myself. I had believed I could earn their kindness. As soon as we got home, I opened my laptop and tried to cancel everything. The venue, the caterers, and the floral setup. But it was too late. The cancellation deadlines had passed. No refunds. No turning back. I stared at the screen, feeling defeated. All that money, all that work, for nothing. But then something shifted in me. Why should I let them ruin this? If the venue and everything else were still booked, Why not turn it around? I glanced at Liam. What if we don't cancel it? He raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? What if we make it our party instead? Invite our friends, your work buddies, people who want to be around us. For the first time that evening, he smiled. I like that idea.
So, we got to work.
I started by messaging every guest I had invited for his mom. I kept it simple, just said the party was canceled, and thanked them for understanding. Then I sent out a different set of invitations to my friends, old college roommates, coworkers who always stood by me, and some of Liam's closest friends from work. The people who had celebrated our wedding with joy, who sent us texts during hard times, who actually cared. Then I opened the decorations box and began removing the soft gold and lavender accents I'd chosen for his mom. Instead, I went with bold colors, deep blues, warm oranges, and silver. Something vibrant. Something alive. Something that looked like me. Liam helped me rearrange everything. We picked a new playlist, added a photo booth with silly props, and even ordered a new cake. One that read, "Here's to know who you are." The next evening, as the venue lit up and music played in the background, people began pouring in. Laughter filled the air. We danced, toasted, and took hundreds of pictures. It wasn't just a party. It was a celebration of reclaiming myself. Later that night, we posted a few photos on Instagram. Nothing boastful, just us smiling in front of the new cake, a group photo with everyone cheering, and one of me mid-laugh, looking lighter than I had in months. It didn't take long for the reaction to come. Around midnight, Liam's sister messaged me. "How dare you hijack Mom's birthday and make it all about you? You're selfish and embarrassing. She's crying because of you." I stared at the message, speechless. Then I passed the phone to Liam. He read it quietly, then calmly put the phone down. "You know what? I'm done. I'm so done with them." I looked at him, surprised. "Really?" "Yeah," he said, rubbing his temples. "You did something beautiful. You tried harder than anyone else ever has. And what did they do? Spit on it. They've never respected you, and honestly, they don't respect me either." His voice cracked a little, and he sat back on the couch. "They've been draining me for years, emotionally and financially. You know those credit card payments I've been making for Mom? She told me they were medical bills. They weren't. She was buying designer handbags. And my sisters? They borrow money and never pay it back. They just assume I'll keep covering for them." My stomach turned. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I don't know. I guess I thought it was just how families are. But seeing them treat you like that, watching you break your back to do something kind for them, and then getting rejected like that, it finally clicked. It's never been about you. It's about control. They never wanted to include you because it would mean acknowledging someone they couldn't manipulate." I sat beside him, slowly absorbing every word. He continued, "You saw them for who they are. And now, so do I." It was strange. I thought I would cry, but I didn't. I just felt free. That night, Liam blocked their numbers. He sent a final message to the family group chat, something short and calm, explaining that he was stepping away from the toxicity. No yelling. No drama. Just a line drawn clearly in the sand. I looked over at him and realized that I wasn't just watching my husband take my side. I was watching him choose himself too, for the first time in a long time. And for the first time since I'd married into this family, I didn't feel like I had to keep proving anything. I had nothing to prove to people who never saw me clearly. Later that week, we sat on our balcony, a quiet breeze rustling the leaves, and Liam finally told me everything. "I was 21 when Dad died," he began, his voice low. "Everything changed overnight. One minute, I was a carefree college student. The next, I was signing hospital documents and trying to figure out how to pay for the funeral." I reached for his hand and held it tightly. They fell apart after he passed. Mom stopped working completely. My sisters were still in college, and my brother was barely in high school. I get it, they were grieving, but someone had to keep the house running. So I dropped out of school, picked up 2 jobs, and just kept going. My heart ached for the boy he used to be, the one forced to become the man of the house before he was even ready. "They leaned on me hard," he continued. "Mom never looked for work again. She said her nerves wouldn't allow it. My sisters never chipped in. My brother still doesn't. I paid the mortgage, their bills, everything. They call me crying if a car broke down, or if rent was late. And every single time I'd show up, even when I didn't have enough for myself. I sat in silence, letting it all settle. And then you came along, he said, turning to look at me. You didn't take anything from me. You supported me. You encouraged me to go back to school, to stop being everyone's safety net. But to them, you were a threat. I blinked. What? They saw you as someone who might pull me away, who'd make me stop bending over backward for them. So, from the beginning, they tried to make you the enemy. All those awkward dinners, the cold shoulders, the subtle digs, they all flashed through my mind like puzzle pieces falling into place. I had spent so long trying to earn their approval, thinking maybe I wasn't good enough. But it had never been about me at all. They started small at first, he continued. Comments about you being too confident or too independent. Mom said you reminded her of my dad's sister. She always hated her because she stood up to people. Then, after we got married, the guilt tripping started. My sisters would call me crying that they didn't feel close to me anymore. My mom started acting like you were keeping me from them. But I wasn't, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded. I know. You never once asked me to cut them off. You just wanted basic respect. But that was too much for them. I swallowed hard. So, the birthday party. That was the breaking point, he said firmly. The day after we left their house, Mom called me crying. She said you were manipulative, controlling, and selfish, that you were trying to isolate me from the family. She said Dad would be ashamed of me. I gasped. She actually said that?
She did.
She said if I stayed with you, I'd regret it. That she didn't raise me to be someone who let a woman run his life. I felt heat rise to my face, not from shame, but from fury. After everything I had done, after the patience, the kindness, the gifts, the constant forgiveness. I couldn't believe it, he said. It was like she couldn't even pretend to hide the hate anymore. And for what? Because you wanted to celebrate her? Because you tried. He paused, exhaling sharply. That's when I knew. I'd been protecting them for years, but they'd never once protected me. And they would never protect you. I didn't realize I was crying until Liam reached up to wipe away the tears. You don't deserve to carry this, I whispered. I know, he said. And neither do you. At that moment, everything made sense. The cold glares at family dinners, the whispers when I left the room, and the way his sisters always excluded me from group messages, family events, and even holiday plans. It wasn't forgetfulness. It wasn't confusion. It was strategy. They wanted me to feel unwelcome, to doubt myself, to leave so they could have him all to themselves again. And I almost had. There were times I had questioned everything. Times I had wondered if I was the problem. But now I saw the truth. I was simply someone who wouldn't be controlled, and they couldn't stand that. I looked over at Liam and saw someone finally breaking free. Not from his family, but from years of guilt, manipulation, and emotional debt. That night, I made a quiet promise to myself. No more proving myself to people who wanted to see me fail. No more trying to fit into a family that never made room for me. No more doubting my worth because of their rejection. I would protect what we had. Not just Liam and me, but the peace we were finally finding. I would never let their darkness cloud our home again. And if they ever tried to come back, they'd find a door permanently closed. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. Liam and I were curled up on the couch, watching an old movie, our phones blissfully silent for the first time in days. The calm felt fragile, like a soap bubble floating between us. And then it popped. There was a knock on the door. Not a polite one. A sharp, impatient pounding. Liam froze. Please tell me that's not. I stood up slowly, my heart thudding. I walked to the front window and peeked through the curtains.
It was them.
His mother.
His sisters. His brother.
All standing on our porch with crossed arms and tense faces. I opened the door halfway and stepped out. We need to talk, his mother snapped before I could say anything.
Now. I didn't invite them in.
I folded my arms and stood in the doorway. Liam's not interested in talking right now. Well, he doesn't get to cut us out like this, one of his sisters hissed. We're his family. You think this is normal? His brother added. He's acting like a stranger. And we all know why. Liam appeared behind me, placing a steady hand on my back. I'm not doing this, he said quietly. Not here. Not like this. But his mother wasn't having it. You've changed, she spat. You used to be kind,
Loyal.
now you're cold and cruel. You let this woman controls you. My blood boiled, but I held my ground. She's twisted you against us, his sister said, glaring at me. You think she's here for love? Please. She's a gold digger. Always has been. That was it. Something inside me snapped. I stepped forward, my voice steady but sharp. Don't you dare stand on my porch and insult me after everything I've done for this family? I planned a celebration for a woman who has done nothing but humiliate and belittle me. I paid for that party with my own money, spent weeks organizing every detail, and I got told I wasn't family. And now you show up here playing victims. His mother rolled her eyes. You always wanted attention. That's all this was. No, I said. What I wanted was respect. But now I know that's something none of you are capable of giving. His brother laughed bitterly.
Wow.
You've got her brainwashed. I turned to Liam, but before I could speak, his mother leaned in, her voice like venom. Your father would be ashamed of you. That crushed him. I saw his face change. His shoulders dropped. His eyes welled up. It was like watching the little boy in him crumble under the weight of old wounds. You don't get to say that, I said fiercely, stepping between them. You don't get to weaponize a dead man's memory just because you're losing control. If you don't leave right now, I added, my tone turning cold, I'm calling the police. This is trespassing. You weren't invited here. His mother blinked like she couldn't believe I'd say that. I mean it, I said, reaching for my phone. You've crossed enough lines. They hesitated. For a second, I thought they'd push back. But something in my eyes must have told them I wasn't bluffing. His sisters turned first, muttering under their breath. His brother followed. His mother lingered a second longer. Then she turned and walked away without another word. I closed the door slowly and locked it. When I turned around, Liam was sitting on the edge of the couch, his head in his hands, sobbing. I sat beside him and wrapped my arms around him, gently running my fingers through his hair. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I didn't want this. I just wanted them to love me. I kissed the top of his head. I know. But love doesn't come with cruelty. What they gave you wasn't love. It was control. He cried harder, years of guilt and heartbreak pouring out all at once. And I held him through all of it. When he finally calmed down, I said softly, I think it's time we get a lawyer involved. Just to protect ourselves legally. Block them completely. Make it official. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I think you're right. We sat there in silence for a while, the storm finally passing. But this time, we were the ones left standing. The very next morning, we blocked them on everything. Phones, social media, email. We even asked our neighbors not to answer the door for them if they ever showed up again. For the first time in years, Liam felt like he could breathe, like our home was actually ours. But peace never lasts long when people like that are involved. A week later, we received a thick envelope by courier. A legal notice. Inside were pages of bold, angry claims. His mother and siblings were accusing Liam of stealing money from the family inheritance. They said he had manipulated accounts, hidden assets, and used money that never belonged to him. The accusation was outrageous, and worse, it wasn't just private. They had shared the claim online. Suddenly, Facebook posts started circulating. Vague but damaging. Some people steal from their blood. We trusted him, and he betrayed us for her. People started whispering. Clients Liam worked with began asking questions. A few even paused upcoming deals. The smear campaign was working. He looked at me that night with bloodshot eyes and said, I worked so hard. I never touched a cent of what Dad left behind. I paid for everything out of my pocket. How could they do this? I didn't have to answer. I just held him and said, "Let's fight this. Properly." We contacted a family lawyer the next day. A calm, sharp woman named Eleanor listened without flinching and said, "I've seen this before. They picked the wrong people to play with." With Eleanor's help, we gathered every bank statement, every transfer record, and every bill paid. We created a detailed timeline of Liam's income from the age of 21 to now. It showed clearly how much he earned, what he spent, and where every dollar went. There was no hidden money, no inheritance taken, only years of sacrifice from a son who stepped up when no one else would. Within 2 weeks, Eleanor filed a countersuit for defamation. It wasn't just about clearing Liam's name, it was about making it stop. The court date came fast, and the moment our side presented evidence, everything unraveled. Their lies couldn't hold up against the truth. Not with timestamps, receipts, emails, and old job contracts laid out in black and white. The judge didn't just dismiss their claim. She fined them. Substantially. They were ordered to pay for damages to Liam's business reputation and cover all legal fees. On top of that, the false claims online had to be taken down within 48 hours, or they'd face more penalties. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Liam wasn't the manipulative thief they had painted him to be. He was the son who paid their rent while they mocked his wife behind his back. The brother funded their lifestyles while they gossiped about how controlled he was. Their lies were publicly exposed. And it didn't stop there. Word spread to the extended family. People who had kept their distance out of politeness began reaching out, not with pity, but with apologies. A few admitted they had quietly suspected something was wrong for a long time, but didn't know how to speak up. His mother and siblings found themselves isolated. The support they'd always counted on dried up overnight. No more free babysitting, no more borrowed cars, no more couch crashing when rent was due. And since Liam was no longer footing their bills, they had to face the one thing they'd avoided for years. Real life.
Jobs. Rent.
Budgeting. The silence from them after the ruling was louder than any of their screaming matches. And honestly, it was the most peaceful silence I'd ever known. Liam and I finally had space. Real space. To heal, to talk, to laugh without tension, to plan things without second-guessing how his family would twist it. We started spending weekends out of town, cooking together, making silly playlists. There was lightness again. And love. So much love. One night, he turned to me as we were getting ready for bed, pulled me into a long hug, and whispered, "You saved me." I smiled against his chest. "No," I said. "You saved yourself." I just refused to let them dim your light. As I sat on the patio days later, a cup of coffee in hand and the evening sun warming my face, I thought about everything that had happened. Would I wish this on anyone else? Never. But was I grateful it happened? Absolutely. Because now, there's no more pretending. No more walking on eggshells. No more giving pieces of ourselves to people who only wanted to break us. Some people might say cutting family off is cruel. But I call it what it really is. Protecting our peace.